I would like to please welcome our partners, SheerID, and having a conversation is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of SheerID, Jake Weatherly, in conversation with Global Pro Business Manager E-commerce, Elizabeth Rudkin. Welcome, you two.
Hey, thank you, Danny.
Yes, please. And once again, and apologies, Elizabeth is with Helly Hansen. Once again, I will be back for your takeaways and Q&A. See
All
you in
right,
a bit.
thanks for having us today, Danny. What a great session so far. Well, hi, I'm Jake Weatherly. I'm CEO and co-founder of SheerID. We created a platform for our customers, brands, to use to engage very specific customer communities, to recognize, to say thank you, and to, in essence, design and launch and grow gated offers and programs. So think about college students getting half off on streaming audio to listen to music, or teachers getting discounts on school supplies as they get their classrooms ready. The question that we answer is this individual eligible to participate in this program? And then how do you cultivate that relationship on an ongoing basis? All of this surrounding the concept of zero-party data. So we believe, and the brands believe, our customers believe, in the power of an individual raising their hand and saying, I want you to know this about me because I'm excited about what's on the other side. So Elizabeth, with me here today from Helly Hansen, comes from, I would argue, one of the most innovative brands who's done a phenomenal job marketing to communities. And Elizabeth oversees the Pros program, which I think has a really deeply rooted history in this idea of zero-party data and the power of consumer communities. So Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself and then give us an overview briefly of Helly Hansen and the rich history and what you oversee.
Okay, hi guys. Thanks, Jake. I'm happy to be here with you guys today. So Helly Hansen is a Norwegian-based premium outdoor apparel brand, trusted by professionals on oceans, mountains, and work sites for more than 140 years. We make professional grade gear to help people stay and feel alive. Today, Helly Hansen is #1 in apparel brand for ski professionals, partnering with more than 200 ski resorts and guiding operations worldwide. Our leading product categories are sailing, mountain, and ski. We support our mission through a long list of first-to-market innovations developed in partnership with those professionals working in the world's harshest environments. We are primarily a wholesale company that has increasingly expanded our direct-to-consumer business. Pre-COVID, e-commerce accounted for roughly 20% of revenue, our whole total business. And today, after post-COVID, mid-COVID, that has expanded to grow well over 30+% of the business. So the segment of the business that I work in is the Pro Partnership Program and our discount programs. And that part of the business has also grown with the Pro business, just alongside it. And that has expanded from roughly 20% to sometimes upwards of 40+% of that e-com business. So we've seen substantial growth there just within those more targeted segments.
Awesome. So tell us about the target audience, these consumer communities. What I always find to be so interesting about Pro programs is that you have communities nested underneath, I guess, that headline, right? So we have everything from like ski instructors to ski patrol to sponsored athletes. The list goes on and on. So will you help us understand who's eligible for the programs that you run? And then also, how do they identify themselves?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so as a brand trusted by professionals, the most effective form of marketing truly is word of mouth recommendation from those trusted professionals. So through our Pro membership program, we're able to offer a discount to those with the greatest impact on purchasing trends as brand influencers. Through this relationship, we gain that valuable customer data and the opportunity to engage with the pro customer, which of course leads to brand loyalty, higher conversion rates, and ultimately maximizes that lifetime customer value. To dig a little deeper into our segmentation, we've always included military, law enforcement, first responder, firefighter within that pro program as a thank you to service and as an expansion of our discount program. In response to the impact of COVID in June of 2020, that's when we came to SheerID and we added the healthcare segment. This was a way to thank and support our medical professionals globally. But with so much uncertainty surrounding this new landscape, we believe that adding this new segment would really help to offset risk and increase our customer base, drive conversion, and ultimately strengthen our position. So we took a new direction to invest in customer acquisition through highly targeted promotions towards military, law enforcement, first responder, and healthcare. And it was highly successful, and we saw great results from that.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of pros programs in your industry? I feel like the outdoor gear and apparel industry like adopted right out of the gates this idea of zero-party data, inviting people to participate and develop a relationship with the brand. And so can you give us kind of a history in the industry as, in my opinion, a very early adopter of the concept as a whole?
Absolutely. I think you're right that these pro programs, mostly living within the outdoor apparel or hard goods brands, it truly was that first connection to a specialized or targeted segment of population that could really relate and develop that more personal relationship with the brand. The idea being that they come to the brand and have this sort of membership, if you will, where they're able to access products at a discounted price that then they'll go out and speak on behalf of that brand because they're happy with the products that they're using. And then they come back for more. And in doing so, their outreach is exponential. But then we also cultivate that relationship that keeps them as a part of our brand and that engagement. And they're then reinvesting information and feedback back into the brand. And it becomes really that first loyalty program that many brands have then created and are trying to sort of duplicate in a way. I think your perspective on that is right on, that this truly was the first loyalty program.
Yeah, I always think about people who have like a great day on the mountain with an instructor, and they're seeing the Helly Hansen brand all day on this person who like they want to be when they grow up, or they want to be like. They're probably, very, very excited to then engage with the brand because you have created real influencers.
Absolutely. I worked at a mountain resort for 7 years before coming to Helly Hansen, and being on mountain, representing that mountain was awesome because you're always engaged in customer service. Ultimately, people are coming to you and looking up to you and talking to you. But one of the number one topics continuously was, what do you like? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? What is your go-to? What ski do you like? What jacket do you like? What brand do you like? So those conversations have so much value. And I think that that's the objective and goal with these pro programs.
So from the perspective of your partners on the marketing team who help you to develop and cultivate and grow these programs, can you give us an example of a consumer community-based campaign and strategy, and then specifically the impact that it had?
Yes, definitely. So prior to COVID and prior to bringing on the healthcare customer segment, we weren't doing a lot of outreach for customer acquisition. Those customers came organically through our professional services partnerships. And those relationships are very valuable in and of themselves. However, with the emphasis around COVID and pivoting in this direction for customer acquisition with our most valuable customer base, how do we then reach out and engage and bring more into the brand? So we put together several campaigns socially, specifically targeting the healthcare community, healthcare professionals, also law enforcement, firefighters, other first responders, and even military. And in doing so, the response was overwhelming. We had more customers coming into the brand than we could expect or anticipate, or even that we could handle, if I'm being honest, when it comes time for, as you are very well aware, vetting those applications and going through that approval process. We created a bit of a bottleneck for ourselves. So truly having that foundation built to be able to support those campaigns is absolutely critical. So these are good problems to have. But that was our experience in this digital outreach. We went about that through social media, also through LinkedIn, some affiliate marketing. And eventually, about the same time of year last year, we actually had to shut those all down because we had so much volume coming in that we couldn't keep up. And then you run into a whole nother set of problems wanting to ensure quality of service and customer care that we just couldn't sustain. So again, good problems to have, but that was our experience last year.
Yeah, and I think the more popular these programs and the more valuable the special pricing, the more also you're inviting fraudsters. Some people think they're kind of telling a little white lie. Others are actually, trying to commit fraud. And so that's definitely where we've partnered, I think, so well, is to take the friction out for those who are eligible so that they're not, waiting in a queue for their application to be processed, while at the same time keeping the fraud out of the equation so you're not cannibalizing your sales or inviting folks to buy in bulk and resell out the back door or something along those lines. So
Definitely.
Your ID marketing campaigns are about discounted pricing. How do you design your offer in design pricing so that it's still profitable for the brand?
It is an interesting question. And when you look at it from that perspective, it does seem sort of counterintuitive. But at the end of the day, when you look at the data, being able to not only drive customer acquisition in these campaigns, but also engage and build those relationships, that ultimately ends up driving long-term lifetime value for that customer. And those customers in these segments are exponentially above and beyond dollar for dollar with the rest of our customer segments for customer lifetime value. So there's no doubt about it that the payoff is huge, and it's worth the discount.
Yeah, I think when you're spending time in the mountains or on the ocean, your gear is critical, and you're probably a lifetime loyal brand enthusiast when you find gear that works well for you.
That's the hope.
Yeah, awesome.
That's the hope. Yeah.
So in these campaigns, you're collecting zero-party and first-party data from the individual. How do you use the first-party data you collect from identity-based marketing campaigns?
Primarily, it's to re-engage the customer through different targeted campaigns. The first place that we focus is through our email communications programs. For example, we just went through an expiration and renewal email communications program. That is very time consuming and in depth to get that right, to be sure that we're clearly communicating our intentions with the customer, having those repeat engagements and building that engagement and that communication properly in a way that is understood. Takes some care and thoughtfulness, and being able to utilize the data that they provide to do that well is really important. We're looking at the geolocation. We're a global brand, so we are operating in every country. North America behaves different than some of the countries in EU. We have to take GDPR into account. So having that customer data is imperative in every decision that we make, every campaign that we create, every communications program that we generate. All of that customer data is absolutely relevant.
And because it's zero party and first party, do you see engagement and authenticity in a different way than like buying or renting a list or developing an audience on a social platform and kind of crossing your fingers?
Yes, this is new space for us with the discount programs and the pro programs. We've truly spent a good amount of time getting that foundation solid so that we can then move forward with that data and these communications programs, and then the outreach and the different promotions that we would then engage the customer with. So we are really in our infancy and getting started with the zero party data side of it. That is where we're going. But we haven't spent a lot of time there yet. We're building that foundation to move in that direction. The hope is then we can collect their social handles and other information that they want to provide us, that we can then have more engaging relationship with that pro customer or that discount member customer. Everything from polls to product feedback and maybe even product development. What is it they're seeking from our brand that can help them have a better experience on mountain or on the water? Those are the kinds of things that we want to be able to engage with that customer. So that's what we are setting ourselves up to move in that direction to do. Additionally, with our loyalty program that's currently in development, that's another way for us to really take a deeper dive into that zero party data where they're offering up that information because they're getting this great value in this loyalty program we're creating for them.
Awesome. It's nice. It's like you're inviting them to be part of the team.
Absolutely. We want them to be a part of our brand and have that emotional connection to our brand, and that relationship is really the key.
Awesome. All right, one last question, maybe a little bit more on the technical side, but we're seeing so many changes to tech platforms. We're seeing, some of the most powerful devices in consumers' hands, like with iOS 13, removing cookies, for example. Many would argue deterioration of third-party data, like compiled data that turns out to not be accurate, and therefore, you're filling people's mailboxes, whether virtually or physically, with uninvited junk mail. Are you seeing any impact yet from these changes, and are you making plans or executing in this fast changing world?
I believe that has more of an impact on our general customer base through our communications department and our analytics teams, where I don't spend a lot of time working with the general consumer. I would argue that I have the better end of the stick getting to work with these more personalized segments of pro and discount program members, where we are privy to that first party data and the zero party data, where I get to access real data from real customers and real relationships that we're building. Being able to look at revenue and where it comes from, looking at it on a schematic, on a map through Tableau, is really cool to see where that revenue is coming from, and to be able to look at it on a plot map. It gives you a different perspective and how to use that data and that information, but it's not something that's purchased. It's something that belongs to us and something that we can use to truly then retarget our engagements towards those areas where we have the most influence.
Yeah, I mean, what a wonderful world to live in, right? Everybody who you're working with has an invite relationship between the brand and themselves as an individual, and so it's yours to cultivate. It must be fun.
It is fun. It is fun, and we're just scratching off the tip of the iceberg. So nothing but growth and opportunity ahead. It's exciting.
Awesome, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We're going to move over to some key takeaways, and we want to save time for a Q&A as well. Elizabeth, you did a wonderful job.
Great.
We're so proud to partner with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, so let's talk about key takeaways. Zero-party data is the future of personalized marketing. And at SheerID and within all of the brands with whom we work, it's really next level in terms of personalization. Again, we like the phrase invited personalization, the power of an individual being able to raise her hand and say, I want you to know this about me, and I want you to check because I'm really excited about what's on the other side. I'm really excited to participate. It's high intent data that's explicitly provided by that consumer to the brand in exchange for something of value. So VIP access, discounted pricing, free product, early look at maybe a new line, and the list goes on and on. We're finding right now that 77% of CMOs are investing in acquiring zero-party data in order to get higher quality data and build consumer trust. It's really a consumer acquisition, revolution that's underway, and zero-party data is at the heart of that revolution. And then lastly, 87% of consumers, this is amazing, are willing to share personal information in exchange for something of value, like an exclusive reward. So the idea of knowing what you're getting into, knowing what data is being shared, and having that be a conversation rather than like digital stalking or digital surveillance, we found, and all of our customers have found, to be extremely powerful.
It's kind of the great compromise that's been going on for a long time now. We're willing to I'll give you my blood type, but I need 50% off, or build up enough, rewards to maybe get something for free, in air quotes. Listen, great session. We got a little short on time, so I'm going to ask one question, and it's a really good one. It's from Lindsay Spletter, and she says, do you use, it's a multi-part, do you use zero-party data in conjunction with a CDP? And then there's part two.
Interesting. So we have a lot of customers who do combine CDP with zero-party data, or combine some of these programs that are designed for very specific consumer communities with purchasing behavior. Sometimes anonymized in aggregate, other times, almost those who bought this bought that. And we have some really strong partners in the CDP space as well. Any comments from you, Elizabeth, on CDP versus CRM and bespoke communities?
I'm sorry, I wish I had more to add there. It's really not a space I spend a lot of time, and so I don't want to muddle the water.
Well, you know what, Elizabeth, there's a part two that might be more relevant for you. It's, do you have a longer purchase cycle? If so, how do you continue to keep customers engaged for lifetime value?
Oh, I like that. Yes, when we're looking at our different segments, they definitely have a different buying period based on the segment. But I would say that the majority of our pro customers are doing their purchases September through maybe January. So it's really a heightened purchase cycle for that customer. And so the question then becomes, what are we doing to engage them throughout the remainder of the year? So as we develop our communications programs and our digital outreach through various channels, we are looking at promotions for engagement that we could then bring them back to the brand. And that's what I'm referring to when we're looking at growth for the future. How do we re-engage that pro customer and bring them back to the brand? Through different product feedback forums, the ability for them, we've done many surveys trying to gather information from our pro customer segment. What are they looking for? What do they want? What do they crave from a brand? And it comes back to that personal relationship and that connection. So how do we build that for them? By building our loyalty program, giving them a place or a platform to come to where they can engage and contribute. I think that contribution is really at the top of everything that we're looking at and keeping that customer engaged. They want to be able to contribute back to the brand. And how do they do that? So how do we help them do that?
Awesome. One great segment, two great answers to a two-part question. Really appreciate you both being here. Jake, thank you so much to SheerID, and thank you for bringing Elizabeth to us so we can learn more about another great company. This week has been all about celebrating great companies, so it's been a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Danny. My pleasure. Thanks, Elizabeth.